What's going on, everybody? It is your boy, Danyol Jaye. You are watching The Danyol Jaye Show. Guess what, honey? Pastor Todd apologizes for wiping his spit on somebody's face. Keisha Cole and Money Long got long problems, honey, concerning music that got shared. And Tasha K has had a conversation with the mistress over at Love Never Tunksville. And we are talking about compromise versus cooperation. All of that and more right here on The Danyol Jaye Show. Go get your cocktails, honey. Welcome. It has been so long since we've seen each other last, honey. We had the winter break. We had to do some revamping things, but we are here. We are back. It is the Danyol Jaye Show. We are here live every Thursday, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we have a great show today, and I am so excited to be back at work doing what it is that I love to do. I got my little cocktail, honey. We're going to put that over to the side. Let's get into this dish the deeds, okay? Because we got a lot to talk about. So a lot has happened in social media. Michael Todd, pastor of a huge church out in Oklahoma, honey, he had a sermon not too long ago. And he decided that in the midst of trying to save the people and trying to show them Jesus, that he was going to hot spit in his hand. And he was telling the story about Jesus spitting in the mud and putting the mud on the blind man's face, and the blind man can see. Okay, I once was blind, but now I see. Well, it didn't quite work that way for Michael Todd. So the man he was dealing with was not blind, number one. Number two, Michael Todd ain't Jesus. And so he hocked this loogie right into the palm of his hand, and he took that little rub like this. He did a little rub. You know how like when you rub the chicken after you season, you do a little rub. And he rubbed that in the thing, and he put that thing right on that man's face. And that man stood there in that congregation and allowed for his pastor to wipe spittle all over here. I mean, rubbed it all in there. Good like moisturizer. Just rubbed it all in there. And the thing is, we are in a whole parallelogram, y'all. We are in a whole Pandarosa parallelogram pandemic. And the folks were shocked. Now, you have people like Marvin Sapp that say, a man gives hundreds of millions of dollars to people, don't nobody say nothing. You spit on a man's face, all of a sudden it goes viral. You're damn right, Marvin, and I'm going to tell you why. The manipulation of scripture, number one, is a whole conversation in and of itself, because in the story that he was using as reference, Jesus never spit in the man's face. Jesus spit in the dirt, made clay, turned the clay, took the clay, and rubbed that on the man's face. So he wasn't hocking loogies in people's pew piles. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, we're in the whole goddamn pandemic. It's not COVID-18, it's not COVID-17, it ain't even COVID-22. It is COVID-19 still in the year of 2022. And you decided in your congregation, in your mind, you pontificated the thought that it was okay to rub your spit, your saliva, your bodily functioning fluid on another human being's face in the midst of a parallelogram. Oh, Michael Todd. Now, we're going to talk about this apology because he went on his little social media, honey, and he had a little I'm sorry moment. This is what I got to say to that. I felt like your apology was a little too goddamn lighthearted for me. You up here making jokes talking about when Jesus did it, the man could see. When I did it, he was bald before I spit on him, and he was bald after, so it didn't really work. Like, you was making jokes and funnies about it, and that didn't, for me, that just shit didn't work. It didn't work for me. I feel like at this point in time, you need to have a little bit more of a serious tone to the fact that not only did you manipulate scripture to make a point, but that you also utilized your authority as a pastor to even get this man to stand his black ass there and allow you to do that. Michael Todd, I have watched some of your sermons. I have watched some of your videos, and they have been very dynamic for a particular time in my life. But I'm going to say this: if I was your congregant and you decided that you were going to think about contemplating pontificating upon the thought that you was going to wipe your spittle on me, I'd have beat your ass on that stage in the name of the Lord. Okay? And that's just that on that. Now, who I really want to talk to is the man who got the spit on his face. Because what the hell was you thinking to let this man spit on your face? Ain't no way in hell. I know that we in this young generation, child, we in this new generation where we trying to make the Bible real relatable. We trying to make it come alive. God don't need your help for that. I'm going to just go ahead and say that. God don't need your help. Oh, his word is his word without your help. His power is his power without your little influence, honey. And so if somebody is reading the word of the Lord and you give them guidance to know who they are in the Bible, guess what? God gonna do what God gonna do. You ain't got to spit on nobody. So Michael Todd, your little apology on Instagram, you can shove that shit in the trash because I'm not here for it. Now moving on. Now most of y'all know Tasha K. Y'all know Tasha K got all the juice. Okay, she got all the stuff. She know all the things. And so she had a sit down conversation with this little girl named Ariana Curry. Now some of y'all don't even know who the hell Ariana is. I'm about to tell you who Ariana is. Ariana Curry is a young lady that we have come to know as the bitch that Martell was cheating on Melody with in the own show of Love and Marriage Huntsville. Now, y'all know the hosts, Melody and Martell Hope. They got four kids, five kids. He got 6 kids. We'll get to that in a minute. And so in the midst of all of this seasonal things, it had come out that he had an affair on Melody. He was cheating on her with this other woman. Well, Ariana Curry is this other woman. Now, let me tell you a little something about Ariana. Ariana Curry is 31. She was about in her early 20s when she met Martell's ass, okay? Now, I know people who watched this interview, and I watched it. I watched the whole hour and a half of it. Ariana Curry, you are a delusional young woman. And I'm going to say this to you. I appreciate that you can acknowledge that your black ass was in the wrong. But I got an issue with people who are in the wrong, but want to monetize on a situation and sound intelligent, and you cannot. She was telling that, she said to Oprah, Oprah, I'm very disappointed in you because as the owner of this network, there is no way in hell that you should have somebody being torn down, another woman who's looked up to you in all these years, and stop using my likeness. Girl, let me educate you, Miss Curry. Okay, Miss Curry. Let me educate you just for a minute. Just okay, Puddin'. Okay, come on close to me. Come close so I can get it real good into your face. When someone says that they are using your likeness, that usually means that they are using your image, your face, your brand, something that a bitch can see. Girl, we didn't know you existed in real time for I don't know how many seasons of this fucking show. What do you mean using your likeness? They didn't even mention your name in the damn season. And so for you to think in your everdom of you that you were carrying this show, because she said that. She said she was tired of them using her to carry the show. Girl, you didn't carry nothing, okay? You was carrying Martell's penis. That was the problem. That you was fucking a married man, girl, okay? And you knew he was married, all right? So I have so many things to say to Ariana, but at the end of the day, I'm going to say this. Tasha K, girl, get your business, because Tasha K got an interview style that'll make a rock sweat piss, because She knows how to say things in a way to get you the information that she needs, and she just gonna say it. She don't give a shit. She just gonna make you feel real comfortable, like your good girlfriends, honey. And when you turn your back, she gonna put all that shit on social media. So as much as I love Tasha K for her interview style, I wouldn't tell Tasha K shit that I didn't want out into the media. So but amen to Tasha K. Now, some other news is going on here that I saw on the Tickety Tockety. Okay, I saw on the Tickety Tockety that Keisha Cole and Money Long have got a feud going on. Okay, they've got a feud going on. If you don't know who Money Long is an artist, singer, songwriter. You might know her for the song "Yours, Mine, Ours." I can do this for hours, sit and talk to you for hours. If you want to see my rendition of the cover, you can go over to my Tickety Tockety, or you can go to my Instagram, because I think I did a good job. But anyway, this is not about me. It is, because it's my show, but you know what I mean. So apparently Keisha Cole and Money Long were working together, but they were getting to know each other. And Money Long was supposed to write some music for Keisha. And so Keisha was telling her all her business, child, all the tea, all the gaga. And Keisha decided that she was going to die. Sips, drink, gulp, gulp. Keisha thought she was going to retire. Well, Money Long had already written some songs. And so when Keisha said that she was going to retire and that there wasn't going to be no project, Money took them songs and gave them to somebody else. And she made a good little coin. God bless her. And Keisha got mad. She said, how dare you take my experience? How dare you take my stories, my life, and give that to somebody else? That ain't right. You shouldn't have did that. And so she got this thing going with Money Long, and then she went on social media like Keisha Cole do every now and then. Because, you know, a lot of people like Keisha Cole, but let's be honest, Keisha Cole a hood bitch, okay? She's straight up a hood bitch. And so she did a little thing, and Money Long got on Instagram, and she had her little say about it. And Money actually was like, look, I love the girl. It is what it is. There's a misunderstanding, blah, 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 blah. Here's what I'm going to say to Keisha. You've been in this business for a good 2 decades at this point, okay? All the way from your first single to that little song with that run in it that you really couldn't do that everybody was thinking. Love, I think it was called. If you mean to tell me that you didn't have no paperwork set the fuck up to make sure that your experience would not get shared or passed on to another artist, baby, I don't feel no ways tired for you. I really don't. Money is a young girl. She's trying to make her coin, trying to make her stamp and her way in the business. And the only fucking way she can do that is if she got some fucking content. And if your tragic love life was the ingredients for a good song that she was able to sell and make a coin off of, girl, good for her. My bad to you. But at the end of the fucking day, keep your paperwork in order, baby. That's why you got NDAs. That's why you got little contractual agreements and shit to make sure you protect your intellectual property. And your experience is an intellectual property, especially if you're going to give it to a bitch to put it in a song. So that's all I got to say about that. Lastly, on Dish the Deets, honey, I got to give a shout out to this man because although he is an icon in fashion, in pop culture, the story of his life is so tragic. Andre Leon Talley, former Vogue chief, has passed at the age of 73. I do not know the specifics of his passing. And 2022 just said, fuck all y'all. I mean, 2021 took Betty. We got into 2022. We done lost Andre. We lost somebody else at the top of this year who's escaping me right now. But I mean, 2022 ain't taking no names, okay? It said, fuck all y'all. I'm going to do what I need to do. But if you know anything about Andre Leon Talley's story working with Anna Wintour, you know, if you've seen The Devil Wears Prada, then you know how that goes. I was reading comments and doing some research and found out that basically he had done all of this work, had influenced all of this fashion in his life. And at the end of the day, when he died, he was basically homeless. The way that the industry and his community and his friends treated him, the respect that he didn't get, the equity that he didn't get as a Black gay fashion connoisseur, like, it just really blows my mind. So I want to give my humblest just condolences, my sincerest love and compassion to Andre's family and close friends who actually who meant some shit to him, because I'm sure that they are going through a very horrible time. And I hope that anybody who helped bring that man into a space that wasn't joyful, I hope you ride in hell with sandflies feasting upon your lower regions for all of eternity. Now, we're going to take a little quick commercial break. But when we come back, okay, I'm going to be talking about some shows that I've been watching. We're going to get into some Raaaviews, okay? And then we're going to be talking about we're going to have a conversation that I'm just really overwhelmed with. It's going to be talking about compromise for what? We're going to be talking about compromise versus cooperation in relationships. So make sure you have all your questions and all your good things ready and set to go, because I do want to hear y'all in the comment section. All right. But we'll be right back right after these messages. Welcome back. You are listening and watching the Danyol Jaye Show right here on Pyro Media Network. Make sure you click that subscribe button and press that little ring-a-ding-ding bell, honey, so that you get notified for all of my shows and all of the other wonderful shows that we have on Pyro Media Network. Again, subscribe, click the bell, honey. Stay tuned. Stay in the know. Okay, we're going to get into these Raaaviews, honey. It's time for the reigning Raaaviews, honey. I'm here for it. So these are the shows that I have been watching. I know that y'all are so used to me watching all kinds of reality TV, honey. And to be quite honest, reality TV has worked my tail. Okay, it really has just pressed upon my heart and spirit, and it just be making me have palpitations because these motherfuckers is dumb. But I have been watching The Real World Homecoming LA. I think we just had the last episode of this past week of the series. And for those of you who do not know what it is, The Real World, well, first of all, The Real World was the original reality TV on MTV way back in the early 90s. And Los Angeles back in 93 was a very incredible season for its time. That show tackled LGBTQIA plus rights, it tackled abortion, it tackled body image issues, and of course, the infamous scene of Los Angeles that involved actress, reality TV star Tammy Roman, and a not-so-known comedian and asshole by the name of David, where he was dragging her down the hallway, trying to rip a blanket off of her naked body, and of course, he got his ass sent home. Now, Homecoming, Real World Homecoming, is basically that they're going through each season, bringing back these people 27 years later, and having them live in a house again to see how they've changed. And let me just hit some quick points about this fucking show because it's a lot that goes on. I am so proud of Tammy Roman. I am so proud of her because she has literally changed the narrative of who she is in television and in reality TV. She's been doing a lot of business, doing a lot of acting. You've seen her in all kinds of shows. She's got the Miss Pat show. She's been on shows on BET. Like, she's working with some heavy hitters out here. And to come back to reality television after such a long stint on Basketball Wives, that was not very kind to her. It's good to see her changing the image, and I love that. Now, David's black ass came back, and when I tell you that that motherfucker is in his 50s and I don't know what the fuck he has learned. He barely has learned to brush his teeth, let alone to change his fucking attitude. And the way that he has been navigating this space has been so toxic and so problematic. And at the end of the day, I feel like one of the biggest things that they talked about on the show, and again, because they talked about a lot, one of the things that they addressed was the Black Lives Matter. There was a question that came up for the cast. A lot of the cast is white. You have one girl, her name is Irene, who I believe is Latina, but she's very white passing. Then you got Tammy, who's Black, and David, who's Black. And they asked the question, what do y'all feel about the Black Lives Matter? And Irene, who used to be a cop, honey, Irene said that she walked in the march, her and her son walked in the march. She supports it, but she also stands with her brothers and sisters in blue. Now, bitch, how the fuck you do that? I don't know. Because she said, and she confessed, that in her time on the force, that she has seen some unequitable injustices occur. And she was complacent with that. And so there was some conversation there. And then Glenn's white ass, oh, Father heavens to Betsy. Glenn got up and said, you know, I have a friend who's Black, and I remember we went into a restaurant and somebody called him a nigger. That's what he said. On Cicely Tyson's internet. That's what Glenn's white ass said. And Tammy said, look here, now Glenn, pudding pie, okay, pudding pie. That you don't need to say that word ever in your white life. You don't never ever got to say that word ever again. Okay. And he said, well, no, I'm not saying it. That's what they called my friend. And if they were calling my friend that, then they're calling me that. Oh, child. When I tell you the arguments and conversations ensued, and I just want to, I want to give Tammy her props because I don't feel like she gets it enough. When I tell you she handled that conversation with as much grace as any Black person could, she told Glenn, what don't you understand that word should never come out of your white ass mouth? And then Irene trying to be helpful, saying, you'll never know what it's like to be a nigger. And Tammy had to look at her and say, well, bitch, you don't get to say it either because you Latina. Okay? At the end of the goddamn day. So much occurred in this season of Homecoming, but I am glad that they were able to bring these people back together. I am glad that we got to see some people kind of evolve over the years. Some people did not. They made the same fucking mistakes. Now, there was at one point in time where Tammy had to call her husband, and Reggie came in that bitch and was about to lay waste to David. And production took David and charioted his ass on somewhere to safety because Reggie was going to whip that ass. Reggie was going to tap that ass. And I was here for it, okay? Because you ain't no way you should be, as a grown-ass Black man, walking behind a Black woman, talking about you going to pull her wigs off and you going to beat her ass and you going to fuck her up. Who does that? David, get you some therapy, okay? If you are in therapy, get a different therapist because I don't think the one you got is working. Moving on. Another show that has come back onto the airwaves that so many people are talking about is Sex and the City. So Sex and the City was a huge success back in like the 90s, early 2000s. They've had, I think, 7 great seasons. They had one great movie and then a second movie that was fashionably amazing, but writing-wise, a little bit trash. And so they brought it back. Sarah Jessica Parker. They got the bitch who played Charlotte. What's the Nixon bitch's name? The one who played Miranda. They all came back. They're older. All types of shit is going on. Y'all knew Kim Cattrall wasn't coming back because she told y'all, I'm not fucking with the bitches like that. I did the movies. I did the series. I'm done. And so I have to say, watching this remake of Sex and the City is a little disheartening and a little lackluster because I think the fans have realized that Kim Cattrall really did round this cast out. And even though they are trying their whitest to make it work without her, oh, Jesus, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I think when I was talking to a friend of mine, and one of the things that I was saying was, Samantha has always been my favorite character, and not because she did the most fucking. Although some people might look at me and be like, Daniel, you're such a whore. Of course you like Samantha. No, I love Samantha because Samantha was honest. Okay, she was honest about who she was. She was honest about what the fuck she liked. She knew she wanted dick and she was gonna get dick every day of the week if she wanted it. And there was even a season where she got a little pussy. Okay, she got a little nana. Okay, a little ew nana. Okay, hello Foxy Brown. And so I just like the fact that Samantha was so honest in who she was. She was honest about what she wanted. She didn't, apologize for it. And then you had the narcissist Carrie, who's everything evolves around her. You had the skeptic who was Miranda, and then you had this fucking white racist bias bitch in Charlotte. And so when the truth walks out the room, I think I got a word in my spirit today. When the truth walks out the room, all of the toxic traits that are left get amplified. And when I tell you that the toxic traits of Carrie, Miranda, and fucking Charlotte in this remake of Sex and the City are amplified, and the people in the public don't like it, as Giselle Bryant would say, that is the word on the street. Now, moving on. Encanto, the new Disney, Pixar, whatever fucking studio done made it. I watched it. And I liked it, okay? We don't talk about Bruno, no. We don't talk about Bruno, no. I liked it, okay? Let me say this about Encanto. I want to applaud the animators and the creators of Encanto, because one of the things that I felt totally in love with was the representation of Afro-Latino people in the diaspora of culture. To see dark-skinned Afro-Latin folks on the screen, be a part of a full family whose color and pigment spanned the spectrum was incredible. Now, the singing, it was not Beauty and the Beast. It wasn't Ariel's Little Mermaid, okay? It wasn't Poor Unfortunate Souls, okay? It wasn't that. It was cute. The singing was cute. The only song I can remember, which I think they need to work on that when they do these little Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks movies, because the original Disney movies, I mean, the scores could take you to heaven. You know what I'm saying? You think about The Lion King, Circle of Life, like it's just, it gets in your feels, you get a little tear on the inside because you feel it. You know what I'm saying? And so these later works that they got going on, the singing don't always do that to you. It's very forgettable. Although I do remember that one good song. Ain't nobody talk about Bruno's ass, okay? We don't talk about Bruno's ass. You got to watch the movie to find out why they don't talk about him. But I did enjoy the representation. I thought the story was great. I did wish that the climax of the movie was a little better. I felt like, it was a little lackluster. It was this long-ass movie. And then you half the way the movie go, you looking at people do shit. And then the climax, this big ending, is not really that big of an ending. But you will learn what it means to be family. I think the messaging of understanding that you're gifting what you have doesn't make you a family. It doesn't make, and it doesn't make you who you are. But who you are characteristically, your demeanor, your mindset, your compassion, your forethought about really being a community, being a family. Those are the important things. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. All right, what we're going to do is I'm going to take another quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to jump into this conversation regarding compromise versus cooperation. Compromise for what? I have a wonderful experience that I want to share with you, and a wonderful individual that I want to introduce to you. He's not here, but I'm going to talk about him because he's the reason. But all of that when we come back right here on The Danyol Jaye Show. Welcome back to the Danyol Jaye Show. You're watching your favorite host, honey, me, Danyol Jaye. Make sure that you are subscribing and clicking that little bell for Pyro Media Network right here on YouTube, because that is where Danyol Jaye will be moving forward. It's exclusive content only on Pyro Media Network. So make sure that you click the subscribe button, click the little ring-a-ding-ding, and get your updates, because we're here live every Thursday at 9 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you don't have the subscribe button clicked, and if you don't have the ring-a-ding-ding, and you don't get the notifications, you're going to fucking miss out, and I don't understand why you want to do that, okay? All right, let's get into this topic. So I want to express something that I went to recently. I recently went to this conference called the NAESM Conference, NAESM, and it stands for the National AIDS Education and Services for Minorities Conference. That's a mouthful. They shortened it. We call it NAESM. There it is. And at this conference, I was able to, number one, be around Black and brown LGBTQIA plus folks, which you always know. For those of you who follow me on any social media, y'all know that's where my advocacy starts, and that is where my advocacy ends, with Black and brown LGBTQIA plus folks. And so to be in this space with community, with supporters, with allies, it was an amazing experience. However, and also, I met this fine-ass man by the name of Torian Baskerville. And Torian is from the East Coast, I believe. Tall, gorgeous man. And we were having a conversation about relationships and like what he was looking for and what I was looking for, and just having great conversation. And this idea, the concept of compromise, came up into the conversation. Now, if you know anything about me, you've seen my lives, you know that I look at compromise as, I've always said, compromise is not for dating. Compromise is for relationships. And that a compromise should be where you give up something, I give up something, and it's of equal value, and we give it up for the greater good of the relationship. And I've been talking about this for years. I've been put my stamp on that. Believed that, walked in, it was like, yes, that is true, that is right. Until I met Torian's ass. Torian told me that he did not believe in compromise. Torian said that he believed in cooperation. And I said, well, what the fuck does that mean? And we used the example of having a couple where you had one couple who had to go to like a business lunch or dinner, and the spouse or the partner, the other spouse or partner, didn't want to go, right? And I said, for me, if I were in a relationship and say my husband had to go to this thing and it was expected that his family would be there or his partner would be there, and not to show up alone, I may not want to go, but for his sake, for the betterment of him, I would sacrifice going if when we got back home, we could do what I want to do, right? And that's compromise. That's how I viewed compromise. I do this for you. You just do this for me. We are both happy. We are both satisfied. Ooh, child, Torian just did not see it that way. Torian told me, he said, well, I just don't believe that you should ask anybody to give up anything about who they are for your sake. I'm just not that type of person. He said, I feel like at the end of the day, if we are grown adults and we're working in cooperation, I can go to my work event by myself, handle what I need to handle, explain why my partner is not there, and represent how I need to represent, while you can stay home and do what it is that you want to do. And then when I get back home, we can have quality time on the couch with some popcorn, some movie, and some booty rubs. I don't know if y'all know me well enough to know it is not easy to fucking change my mind. It's not. Especially if some shit don't make sense. But when I tell you, and it ain't just because it came out of his fine ass mouth, but when I tell you that this shit made the most sense to me in a very long time, I was like, that is so honest and so real and so true. And it works. It can work. That is a construct that can work. And it got me to thinking, why do we compromise? Why do we walk into situations in relationships, whether it be romantic relationships, platonic relationships, friendships, whatever it is? Why do we walk into situations expecting for someone to give up who they are for our sake, or for the sake of, or what we think is the sake of the relationship? What if we operated in cooperation? You do what is great for you that you want to do. I do what I need to do, what's great for me. And then what we join together, what the boundaries surrounding our relationship for us, we work together on. But I'm not going to ask you to do something that you don't want to do. You're not going to ask me to do something that I don't want to do. And we're just going to live in the truth and the confidence of who we are, knowing that we still support one another, knowing that we will still, encourage one another. And it blew. I wish my producer could come on, because he he probably backstage going, yes, bitch, that makes sense. I just wish he was on, just so I could ask him real quick what his thoughts on this were. But I thoroughly just, I don't know. I feel like it's causing me to have to really relook at how we approach relationships. And one of the things that I feel like when we approach relationships, and I was having this conversation the other day, one of the things that the only other thing that I've heard about relationships that has really kind of like hit me in the face like that was something that Iyanla Vanzant said. And she said, I don't get to tell someone how to love me. I get to experience how they love and then make a decision on whether or not I want to participate. And the reason why that hits me so hard and so deeply is because when you think about that concept, it puts the accountability back on us, right? It puts the accountability back on, we have choice in the matter. This is not osmosis. Relationships are not osmosis. Like, it just doesn't occur just because. These are two people who have histories, two people who have proclivities, two people who have traits that may or may not be toxic for some than others. But these are two whole people living and working together to try to make a relationship work. What sense does it make to try and change this individual over here to appease what it is that you feel like you lack in your life? And so when Iyanla says, I don't get to tell someone how to love me, I interpret that as, I don't get to tell you that this is the person you have to become to appease me, especially if I'm not willing to become some completely different person to appease you. But what I get to do, what I have the power and the ability to do, I have the power to look at you, observe you, see how you operate, see how you show love, see how you deal with communication, see how you deal with conflict, see how you deal with triumph and tribulation. And I get to make an informed decision on whether or not I want to participate in that. And if I decide that I'm going to participate in that, and we continue to have conversations, and we continue to get to know one another, and we continue to evolve and grow and stretch, I also get to realize that there are some things that you're going to love that I am not. There are some things that I am going to love that you are not. And I started thinking about all kinds of shit. I started thinking about, like, well, I love to fucking knit. What if I wanted my spouse to be like, babe, come knit with me? And my dude is like, hell no, I don't fucking want to deal with needles and yarn. That's not my I'm not 80 years old. I'm not a grandma. No offense to you, babe, but that's just not the shit I want to do. Am I really going to sit there upset because he don't want to sit and knit with me? Or can I sit and knit my shit? He sit with a beer or whatever he got, so a bucket of popcorn or a bucket of chicken, and watch a movie together. Like, this idea of compromise has really, just like I said, it really has thrown my mind into kind of a spiral about looking at how we function as human beings. And I'll never forget, there was an interview that Eartha Kitt did, the fabulous Eartha Kitt, the only Catwoman that would ever be valid for me. I remember her being in an interview and them asking her about compromise. You know, would you ever compromise for a man? And she just starts laughing. Compromise for what? For who? You want me to be less of who I am to make somebody else who I am not feel better about themselves? I said, girl, look. So I want to thoroughly thank Torian. I do not know if he's watching right now. I know that he said he was watching earlier. I don't know if he's still watching. But Torian, I just want to thank you for introducing a concept that is truly, thoroughly, and deeply making me have to think about how I, Danyol Jaye, engage relationship, both romantically and platonically, what I am expecting of other people when I meet them, what other people expect of me when they meet me. And I'm enjoying the journey of that discovery. I'm really thoroughly enjoying the journey of that discovery. I was having a conversation, I believe it was on Instagram, not earlier today, and we were talking about relationship. No, not Instagram, on Clubhouse. My apologies. And we were talking about, you know, again, these expectations that we have when we meet someone. You know, how do you date? Are you a singular dater? Are you a serial dater? You know, and what do you expect when you're dating someone, when you're in that talking space, you know, where it's not really a relationship, but you're getting to know one another. And I was listening to this young man express like, well, I need you to call me every day. And if you ain't calling me and you ain't da-da-da-da and you ain't being persistent. And something was like, okay, pause. These words that are coming up, right? Compromise, cooperation, participation, persistence. And I thought in my mind, I said, why do you want someone to be persistent when you're dating them? I said, because where there is persistence, that means that there is a resistance present. The only time we ever use the word or the term or the phrase to persist on something is when there is a resistance to what it is that we're trying to do. And so I didn't agree with that statement. Why do you want someone to persist on getting to know you? That means that if you want them to persist on getting to know you, that means that you are resisting something about them, that you are trying to see if they're going to play the game to kind of feed your ego to see if you're worth it or not, right? And it's like, why not just be consistent? Why not just be honest? When I meet people, that's the thing. Those are the two things that I say I'm asking for, that I'm looking for in this moment. All I ask of you is to be honest and consistent. That's it. I don't need nothing else. Honesty and consistency. And some people will say, well, Daniel, how come you don't say love? And how come you don't say respect? And how come you don't say, I said, you know why I don't say those things? For exactly the same reason that Iyanla expressed in her statement. Because I believe that if you are honest, whatever you feel for me will show up. And if it's not love, if it's not respect, if it's not compassion, I get to make the decision that I no longer want to deal with you in that space. I get to take agency and ownership of my choices. I no longer have to be this reactive thing. Well, if they do this, I'm going to leave. Why? If you feel like you want to leave, just leave. If he don't tell me what I want to hear, then I'm out of here. Well, he ain't been telling you what you want to fucking hear for the last 3 years, honey. Why you still there? And so I want to impart that onto y'all, that if you're looking for someone to be persistent in their pursuit of you, then you're probably doing something to resist in the process, which makes them not want to pursue you at the end of the day. And I also feel like when it comes to consistency, that has to be talked about. I feel like when we get into relationships, when we get into situations where we're getting to know people, we're meeting people, again, I think that people have these preconceived notions of how things should go, you know, and at the end of the day, it's all an experience. It's all an experience. I am meeting a new person for the very first time, and I'm meeting them, guess what? In the middle of their fucking life, which means they got a whole history behind them that I know nothing about. How selfish, how arrogant of me to walk in the middle of someone's story and expect for the rest of the story to be all about me. When we can have conversations, when we can have, discussions about what are you looking for? What do you require in a relationship? What is your communication like? If I don't really know you, I'm not an on the phone type of person. I'm not. But if I really like you, I want to talk to you on the phone, or I want to talk to you on FaceTime. Hopefully you do not have an Android and FaceTime is a possibility. No shade to the Android users, but them green fucking bubbles irritate the deepest, darkest, scurviest crevice of my most inner iridescent ass. And yes, my ass is iridescent on the inside. It just does. Those green bubbles work my nerve. But anyway, if I like you, that's how I communicate. I'll call you. I will text you throughout the day. Not because I'm trying to be a bugaboo or not because I'm thirsty. You're just on my mind. I might send you a, hey, how are you? Hope you're doing well. I'll ask, can we have some quality time? And, when we talk about love languages, because that's a conversation that I hear all over the internet. Every space I go into when I'm talking about relationships or when relationships are brought up, romantic or otherwise, it's always, love languages, love languages, love languages. Let me share some insight about love languages to y'all. If you don't know what the love languages are, the love languages are gifts, acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time, and physical touch. Based on this research, those 5 categories are how human beings interpret and process how they are loved, and are usually the dynamics by which we show how we love, right? The thing is, people will take this little test that they have online that you can Google, and whatever's at the top of their list, they'll say, that's my love language. But the reality is, all 5 of those things are part of what makes us a human being. The difference is how we prioritize them in our life. So when I took my test, quality time is number 1. And that is true for me. If I like you and I want to get to know you and you say that you like me, the expectancy for me is that you're going to want to spend quality time with me. What does that mean? That means if we're in the same city, in the same state, we're going to lunch, going to dinner, hanging out, going to the park to get to know each other. If we're not, if we're long distance, then we're texting, we're calling, we're FaceTiming, we're setting up a virtual type of date or conversation. Because to me, that's quality time. That's how I interpret love the most. Below that is physical touch. A bitch like her booty to be rubbed on. Okay, I might touch your knee. I might play with your hair. I might rub your scalp, because physical touch is also a very big thing for me. Words of affirmation. I want to hear that I'm special, that I'm amazing, that I'm awesome, and that I'm great. I don't need to hear it all the time, but sometimes I'd like for you to just out of nowhere say, you know what? You're really fucking incredible. Oh my God, thank you. I needed that today. Acts of service. I would like for people to do shit for me just because they felt like it, or just because they noticed that I needed something and they go and do it. I find, yes, I want that too. Now, gifts, I don't really give a shit about gifts like that. Gifts are only important to me if you give me a gift that lets me know that you have been paying attention to me. For instance, if you go out and buy me a diamond bracelet, now I'm not a no ungrateful bitch. I am going to say, oh my God, thank you for this diamond bracelet. But a diamond bracelet can be given to anybody and can mean anything to anybody. It's not specific to me. But if you went out and bought me the most beautiful journal and the most wonderful packet of new pens, I would fuck your brains out that very moment, because that is specific to me. I'm a writer, I'm a storyteller, and I love journals and I love pens. This lets me know that you're paying attention. And so for those of you out there that are trying to, live up in this level up, I should say, in this love language game, just understand we all encompass those 5 things. It's just based on how we prioritize it. And to bring this conversation to a close in regards to compromise for what? I again thank Torian for introducing me to a concept that was different, that challenged what I thought a relationship should be about. And it is now helping me to incorporate healthier things into the dynamics that I want to create with people. Which leads me in to our Hey Puddin' moment. Today's Hey Puddin' is about who's got the choice. And when we talk about taking self-accountability in life with the people that we interact with, we have to understand and accept that we have choice in the matter. So many of us live our lives in a reactionary space. We wait on what other people are going to do before we can make a decision, because we don't want to stand in that space on our own, because it's scary and sometimes it's lonely and sometimes we will lose a piece of something. And I don't know about you, Puddin' Pie, but I do not live any longer in the world of Betty Wright. Having a piece of somebody is not better than having no somebody at all. And my hope and my prayer to you, for you, with you, is that as you create new relationships, both romantically and platonically, that you walk into those situations and those dynamics knowing that you have a choice to participate in what's going on or to not participate in what's going on. Because as Iamna said, we don't get to tell someone how to love us. We get to see how they love and choose whether we want to participate or not. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today for today's episode of the Danyol Jaye Show. Make sure you come back next week because we will have another fantastic show. We are live every Thursday at 9 p.m. exclusively right here on Pyro Media Network. So make sure you click subscribe, click the little ring-a-ding-ding so that you get notifications. And as I end every show, you are awesome. You are amazing. You are magnificent, phenomenal in every single solitary way. But if you so choose to be bitter, nasty, mean, and cruel, do that shit in a room by your fucking self. And don't you send out no invites. Until next week, I'm your host, Danyol Jaye, and you're watching The Danyol Jaye Show.